There's something mysterious, something that all of us at some point in life have felt, the silent presence of the self, that intimate entity, whispering from the depths of our mind, feels so natural, so seamlessly woven into our being that we rarely dare to question it. But what if it's not what we think? What if what we call I is just a layer, a temporary construct dressed in the clothes of memories and experiences? After all, what is this self we believe we are? When we ask ourselves, who am I? What are we really trying to understand? This question, simple on the surface, is actually a portal to a deep journey, a voyage that can't be made with maps, nor answered with quick phrases or ready-made certainties. This question demands silence. It demands presence. It demands courage, because to seek the answer is to embark on an inner crossing where the familiar terrain of the mind gives way to the mystery of essence. It's a journey that goes beyond fleeting thoughts, beyond the emotions that move through us, beyond the identity we've shaped over the years. It's a journey that dissolves certainty and reveals an ocean of possibility. The self we all believe we know, the one that carries our name, our story, that defines us and connects us to the world, seems solid, stable, unshakable. But is it truly real? Does it exist the way we imagine? Or is it just a reflection, a shadow we've mistaken for our true being? Right now you might be wondering, why question something so fundamental? Why disturb the foundation of who I believe I am? The answer lies precisely there, because what we call the self is so deeply rooted in our experience that we almost never examine it. It's become invisible, a silent filter through which we see everything, including ourselves. But when, for the first time, we turn our gaze inward and ask, who is it that thinks, feels, and reacts, something extraordinary begins to unfold. We discover that the self we thought we were is not as fixed as it once seemed. And behind that mental construct, there is something infinitely vaster, more serene, more free. Have you ever stopped to watch the flow of thoughts moving through your mind? Have you noticed how they rise, one after another, like clouds drifting? Across a sky you rarely take time to observe. A thought comes, then it's replaced by another, and another still. Endlessly, many of those thoughts speak about you, what you are, what you like, what you fear, what you desire. But who is this you that shows up in all those thoughts? Who's behind that narrative? Are we really this character, or are we something that observes the character, something that can't be reduced to any description? What you believe to be you is in truth a story created by the mind. Since childhood, since your very first steps, it's been weaving a web of memories, labels, emotions and images, building an identity like someone writing a book in real time. But what if that book isn't your true self, but merely the mind's way of trying to grasp the unexplainable? If you look closely, you might notice that this self is just an echo, a collection of thoughts, feelings, and mental images that come and go without end. And more importantly, you are not any of them. You are the one who watches, the one who remains, the silent space where all of it unfolds. And it's right there, in that space of pure presence, that true freedom begins. To bloom, they're like chapters in a book, but a book no one ever consciously wrote. A book that writes itself, with no fixed author, no predictable ending, not even a clue why it began. Each chapter, an emotion. Each paragraph, a thought. Each sentence, an attempt by the mind to make sense of the chaos of existence. But if you pause for just a moment, quiet the noise and simply observe, you'll notice something deeply unsettling and at the same time incredibly liberating. There is no central I controlling all of this. There is no solid figure behind the scenes of this narrative. There's only movement, constant change, a continuous flow of sensations, ideas and memories, like waves that rise and fall, but never stay. With each new experience, we add another. layer to the construction of the self, like placing one mask over another, never truly knowing the real face underneath. Have you noticed how, in certain moments, you feel confident, unstoppable, and in others, completely insecure, fragile, or anxious? So who are you really? The confident one or the anxious one? The joyful or the melancholic? These states appear, shift, and fade, and yet the identity you take on at any given moment is shaped by them. And that's exactly why the self is an illusion, a temporary construct made of fragments of time gathered by the mind in its endless attempt to weave a continuous line, a coherent story about who we are. But what if that story is just that? A well-told fiction, a carefully crafted illusion meant to give continuity to the experience of existence. If the self is just an idea, a phantom stitched together by thoughts, then what remains when it disappears? Who are we when we're not trying to be someone? When we let go of memories, labels, and emotions? When we stop playing the role the mind has written for us? That's where truth begins to surface, silently, like a sacred revelation. The turning point comes when we dare to question the solidity of the self, when we stop repeating the same story and start listening, not to the thoughts, but to the space between them. In that space, something is revealed. The self exists only because we believe in it. It's like a vivid dream, real while it lasts, but it vanishes the moment we awaken, and then we realize we are not the character, we are not the storyline. We are the background where it all unfolds. We are the awareness that observes, the silent and unchanging witness to all the changes. This awareness doesn't come and go like thoughts do. It doesn't rely on emotions to exist. It has no shape, no name, no age. It simply is. It's the foundation of everything. The quiet field where the sounds of the world echo, the infinite sky where the clouds of the mind drift by. When we talk about consciousness, we're not referring to the everyday sense of being awake. We're speaking of something much deeper, something beyond the body, beyond the mind, something that was already there, long before you even knew what an I was. Pure consciousness does not cling. It doesn't judge. It simply observes. It's there when you're happy, and when you're sad. It's there when you succeed and when you fail. It's there when you feel like someone, and when everything seems to fall apart. Throughout the day, we're flooded with thoughts, stimuli, desires, memories. But behind it all, there's a steady, quiet, ever-present point. And that point never changes. It simply sees and maybe, just maybe, that silent witnesses who you really are. But pay close attention to this. These inner phenomena, thoughts, emotions, impulses, they are not who you are. They just happen. They arise, they build up for a while, and then dissolve like smoke in the wind. Yet there is something within you that remains. Something that doesn't rise and fall with emotional tides, nor shift with the highs and lows of the mind. A constant, quiet presence that watches it all unfold. That presence is consciousness, the eternal witness, the pure spark that simply sees without judgment. Now, close your eyes for a moment and imagine you're feeling a powerful emotion, maybe anger, sadness, or frustration. Something visceral, heated, something that feels like it's consuming your entire being. But what if you took a step back? What if, for just a moment, you watched the emotion instead of drowning in it? Here's the question that changes everything. Who is it that's observing this anger? Who is it that notices the sadness without becoming it? The answer isn't in the anger, nor in the sadness. The one who's observing isn't the emotion, it's you. But not the you that gets tangled in these fleeting states. It's the real you, the awareness that perceives everything without being swept away by any of it. In moments of deep emotional turmoil, the mind tends to react with thoughts like, "This is wrong. I shouldn't feel this way. Something inside me is broken." But what if, in that very moment, instead of reacting, you simply watched? What If you just breathed and let the emotion move through you like a wave that rises powerfully but eventually crashes onto the shore, you are not the wave. You are the ocean, the vastness where waves are born and die. You are not the frustration, nor the thoughts trying to make sense of it. You are the space where all of it unfolds, shapeless, egoless, nameless. And when that is seen, everything changes, because you realize the observer remains. It's there before the emotion, during the emotion, and after it, unchanging, silent, witnessing it all. That is the role of consciousness, to be present, but not entangled, to see clearly, without clinging to what is seen. And it's at that point that one of the greatest inner freedoms arises, when we stop identifying with what we feel or think and start recognizing ourselves as the one who sees it. All anger may come, sadness may ache, but you are the sky, and those are just passing clouds. You are the blank canvas. The emotions are the paintings that come and go. But the canvas never moves. When we learn to see this way, through the eyes of awakened awareness, something begins to dissolve, the prison of identification, because we realize there's no need to fight our thoughts, no urgency to control our emotions. They arise on their own, and on their own they pass. You simply observe, you witness, you remain, and in that remaining, you discover what has always been there. Pure consciousness, that silent and unchanging field where everything unfolds. It is not disturbed by fleeting moods. It doesn't sway with the highs and lows of the mind. It simply is. It watches the flow of life, like the sky watches the drifting clouds, without attachment, without haste, without judgment. And it is in that silence where you can finally rest. So, while thoughts come and go, while emotions rise and fade, there is something within us that never moves, never changes, never gets touched by what passes. That silent essence is consciousness, the unshakable witness that watches everything with serenity, untouched by the tides of life, by the stories of the mind, by the storms of emotion. And this simple, yet profound realization is freeing. Because when we recognize it, we stop being prisoners of the mental narrative and begin to gently touch who we truly are. Just imagine for a moment, you're watching a movie. The story may be dramatic, joyful, or tragic, but you're just watching. You're not the character, you're the one sitting in the chair. And so it is with your mind. It thinks, it feels, it weaves its tales, but you are the one who sees. You are the silent presence watching it all pass by. This role of the witness is the key. It's the golden thread that leads to the recognition of your true nature, because the witness doesn't cling to pain, doesn't get intoxicated by pleasure, and doesn't get lost in the fluctuations of thought. It simply witnesses. It knows everything passes, but it itself remains. No matter the intensity of the emotions, the fury of a thought, or the weight of a feeling, consciousness is there, steady, calm, empty, yet full. And that is exactly what transforms everything, because when you realize you are that consciousness, you begin to break free from the endless cycle of identification. You are not the fear, you are not the anxiety, you are not the euphoria. You are the one who watches fear arise, anxiety pass, and euphoria fade away. And when we truly understand this, when we feel this truth pulsing within, something shifts deeply. We begin to notice a subtle yet essential distance between what we observe and who we truly are. And that distance, it isn't coldness, it's clarity. Clarity that says, I can feel without losing myself. I can think without becoming what I think. I can live and still remain free inside. This consciousness is like the sky, and thoughts and emotions are just clouds passing through its space. And even if the clouds are heavy, even if the storm is fierce, The sky remains untouched. It's always there, unshaken. And then comes the question, a question that opens doors. Who is thinking this? Who is feeling this? These aren't just philosophical curiosities. They're keys, gateways to a deeper perception. Because when you ask them sincerely, without looking for quick answers, something happens. You step away from the content of the mind and move closer to the silence that watches it all. And in that silence, there is peace. And it's precisely there that something extraordinary begins to unfold. We begin to realize that behind all these passing experiences, behind the pain, the joy, the doubt, or the fear, there is something that never changes. A silent presence, a steady awareness, a witness that is always there, quietly watching everything. And when you ask sincerely, when you wonder, who is observing this right now? A space opens up inside you, a space beyond the ego's fluctuations, beyond the stories the mind keeps telling. You're no longer being pulled by the unconscious stream of thought. You place yourself as the one who sees. And in that simple gesture, the act of witnessing without judgment, something shifts profoundly. You begin to recognize, deep within, a silent space, peaceful, still, that doesn't try to control or react. It simply witnesses. And it's in that space that true wisdom begins to bloom, because in that space, you realize clearly that your thoughts don't need to run your life, that your emotions don't have to steer your actions. You become the captain, not the ship drifting at sea. This is the point where you begin to gain true emotional autonomy, because now, you see, you feel, but you're no longer tangled in the feeling. Let's bring this into practice. Imagine yourself in a situation that triggers anxiety. The mind, as always, begins its dance. What if something goes wrong? What if I fail? What if no one understands me? You already know this script, but this time, instead of getting swept away, you pause, you breathe, and you ask yourself, who is noticing these thoughts? Who is feeling this anxiety right now? And something miraculous begins to happen. A small space opens between you and the thoughts. Suddenly, there's distance, and within that distance, there's clarity. You realize you are not the anxiety, you are not the fear, you are not this non-stop stream of chaotic ideas. You are the one who observes. You are the awareness behind the cloud. The vastness of the sky, not the storm that passes through it. And in that recognition, anxiety begins to lose its grip because it no longer defines you. It's just a momentary visitor, not the owner of the house. This process, when repeated, becomes a path, a transformative practice. Every time you pause and observe, every time you ask, who is experiencing this? You lift another veil, and behind the veil, you find yourself, not the you the world tried to shape. Not the you dressed in ego stories, but your true self, conscious presence, aware, alive, and free. This is the power of self-inquiry, not as a mental exercise, but as a doorway that opens every time you have the courage to look within. And the more you look, the more you discover, and the more you discover, the less you feel the need to control. Because you are the silence that observes everything with love and clarity. And when we finally begin to look deeply into our own inner experience, we realize something surprising. The self we believed we were is not fixed, it's not solid, it's not eternal. That I is a construction, a story the mind put together to interact with the world. And that's where the ego comes in. The ego is that voice that says, I am this, I am that, I need to be accepted, I have to prove my worth. But look closely, that I changes with time, with circumstances, with the mood of the day. Today it wants one thing, tomorrow the opposite. It shapes itself, adapts, puts on a costume. It's a mask, useful for the theater of life, but It's not you. The ego is a stream of temporary roles. There's no unchanging identity behind it, just reactions, beliefs, and stories that rise and fade as the scene changes, and that's okay. The ego is not the enemy, but it doesn't belong at the center of the stage. It's a tool, not the master, and when you realize this, you begin to move differently. You begin to live from awareness, not from the mask. And as situations change, the ego adjusts, adapts, reinvents itself. This identity the mind creates for us is a tapestry woven from our stories, beliefs, emotions, and lived experiences. It's not fixed or static. It's in constant transformation, flowing as the scenery of life shifts. The ego builds a version of ourselves based on what we believe we are, on the roles we choose to play, on the stories we keep repeating about ourselves. It might be the victor in one moment, the victim in the next, the leader, or even the failure, depending entirely on the stage it's performing on, because at its core, the ego is a flexible identity, one that bends and molds itself to external expectations. It's a succession of temporary selves, identities that rise and fade, like waves that come and go on the vast ocean of experience, always interpreted by the mind searching for meaning. But when we begin to look closer, when we start questioning these identifications, we notice the ego's fragility, its complete dependency on outer circumstances. The ego hides behind our personal stories, behind the limitations we believe we have, creating a false, illusory sense that we are a solid, unchanging identity. But if we look with true awareness, it reveals its real face, a fleeting mental construct, mask we wear to navigate the world. On the other hand, when we shift our attention toward pure awareness, the one that watches all thoughts, emotions, and sensations without getting involved, without judgment, we begin to realize something profound. We are not the character the ego created. We are not the winner, nor the loser. We are the awareness that observes these ever-shifting identities. And as we connect with this witnessing presence, the identification with the ego begins to dissolve. We start to see that the true essence of I is not found in any role or label, but in the pure consciousness that perceives it all. This dissolving of the ego is not a single event, but a continuous, delicate process. As we begin to step back from those fleeting identifications and focus more on the silent presence, a sense of freedom begins to deepen. The ego starts to lose its grip, and a more authentic life begins to emerge, free from the chains of a fixed, reactive self. What remains is that silent presence, unchanging, beyond thoughts, beyond feelings, beyond stories. And when we reach the point where we clearly see that the I we've identified with is nothing but an illusion, something extraordinary happens. A deep liberation takes place. The I we believed ourselves to be, with all its stories, roles, and masks, begins to dissolve, and in its place, the deepest truth about ourselves is revealed. We are not a fixed identity, nor a cluster of thoughts and emotions, but the unchanging awareness that observes all of it. That awareness is our true nature, and realizing this can radically transform the way we live. When we're caught in the ego, we constantly react to life's ups and downs. We become hostages to a narrative of success and failure, pleasure and pain, control and fear. Every situation, every encounter gets filtered through this limited identity, convincing us that we must fight, defend who we are, avoid pain, and chase pleasure at all costs. But when we realize that we are the awareness that watches all these processes, our relationship with the world and with ourselves begins to shift profoundly. And liberatingly pure consciousness, in its deepest essence, clings to no identity, holds on to no suffering, has no need to control life. It simply observes with total serenity. And when we connect to that awareness, something extraordinary unfolds. We begin to understand that sufferings, not an intrinsic part of who we truly are. Suffering arises only when we identify with the ego, with its turbulent emotions and intense reactions. But when we recognize that we are the awareness observing the suffering, we begin to see it, just like thoughts and emotions, as nothing more than a passing phenomenon. Suffering comes and goes, but we remain unchanged, immersed in a deep peace, untouched. By its influence, true freedom arises exactly there when we let go of the need to control or define our experience. This freedom is born from the simple act of being present, of observing everything that arises without getting lost in the mind's stories and dramas. And this freedom isn't a one-time reward. It's a state that expands and grows with each practice, with every moment we awaken to pure awareness in our everyday life. Practicing this constant return, this presence that observes without getting involved, profoundly transforms the way we live. Each moment becomes a sacred opportunity to reconnect with who we truly are. Pure awareness, not bound by the past, not anxious about the future, but fully alive and vibrant in the now. And when we allow ourselves to live from this awareness, we discover a life filled with more peace, more clarity, and more authenticity, because we are free from the traps of the ego. Connecting with this pure awareness is the key to true and lasting transformation. It doesn't mean running from life or denying our emotions. It means learning to witness them in a new way, without identification, without judgment, just observing what is, with compassion and serenity. When this practice becomes part of our daily life, it brings us a freedom that goes beyond any challenge. Because we are no longer prisoners of the mind's fluctuations, but rather the unshakable awareness, watching it all with calm, clarity, and depth. Thank you for walking with me on this journey of awakening. If this message touched your heart, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone you feel could benefit from this message. And please leave a comment down below. Share your reflections, your thoughts, and your experiences. Once again, thank you for being here, for watching, and for walking alongside me on this path of inner discovery. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Now, as we reach the end of this revealing expedition, I want to express my deepest gratitude to you for staying with us until the end. Your dedication and curiosity are the fuel that drives us to explore, demystify, and share these intriguing stories. I want to share something special with you. As a fan of the Map of Higher Self channel, you are about to embark on a unique journey of self-discovery and mental formation. I present to you the Map of Higher Self, a revolutionary ebook that will redefine your mental reality. As the creator of this content and leader of the Map of Higher Self channel, I'm sharing my deepest experiences and valuable lessons with you. Each chapter of this ebook is a reflection of my journey, filled with practical lessons I've lived and transformed into wisdom. Don't miss this opportunity to transform your life. Click the link in the pinned comment and start your journey towards self-knowledge and positivity today. Imagine yourself for a moment as one of the ancient explorers who ventured into unknown territories, guided only by the flame of curiosity and the thirst for knowledge. Every piece of information, every symbol deciphered, is like a map leading us deeper into the labyrinth of the unknown. And just like those explorers, you too are now a little closer to the truth, carrying with you a new understanding of the forces that shape our world. Your presence here is not just a personal achievement, but a valuable contribution to a vibrant community of curious and knowledge-seeking individuals. Every view, every comment, every like is a step we take together toward a deeper and collective understanding. You are not just a spectator, you are a partner in this journey of discovery. So, as we close this chapter, I invite you to reflect on today's revelations and prepare for the next steps. We will continue unraveling secrets, questioning established truths, and exploring the mysteries around us. Your participation is essential, not just for the growth of this channel, but for the expansion of our horizon of knowledge. Until the next discovery. And remember, the real power lies in questioning and understanding what is beyond the visible. And before you go, don't miss these 2 videos I've selected especially for you. They're packed with deep knowledge and fascinating discoveries that you'll love. Click on one of them and continue your journey of self-discovery and the pursuit of wisdom with the amazing content our channel has to offer.